People are trickling in, but I'm going to get started. This is also going to be available online. A lot of people watched online last year. I know it's easier, but I do appreciate you guys coming in person. Just going to give a quick intro, and then we'll get started. I'm Jen Heck, so I'm the chair of the Sutton Democratic Town Committee, and I want to welcome you all to the second annual Candidate Forum in Sutton, produced by the Sutton DTC. And although we are a Democratic committee, tonight is a strictly nonpartisan event, and we've worked really hard to ensure that the process, the timing, and the questions are fair, balanced, and equally accessible to everyone on the stage. And just a side note on that, most of the towns and cities in Massachusetts do hold nonpartisan local elections, meaning that you won't see an R, a D, or an I on the ballot. And tonight, this is about ideas, it's about leadership, it's about temperament and vision. We encourage you to listen in an open-minded way, think critically, and decide for yourselves who you think will best serve the community. A few quick thank yous. I want to thank the town of Sutton, Austin, Pam, Zach, and their teams for the facilities and for the technical support for this event. I want to thank the volunteers of the Sutton Democratic Town Committee who helped organize the event tonight and develop the questions that we believe and hope are thoughtful, substantive, and fair, and informative for you guys. And sorry if they were hard, I wasn't trying to make them hard. Thank you, most of all, to all of you for being here. Sutton faces real challenges and important decisions in the years ahead and right now, and an informed and engaged community is essential to how we navigate them. And lastly, I want to thank the candidates. Every person on the stage here volunteered to step up publicly, to offer their ideas, and to dedicate enormous amounts of time and energy to this town. Running for office is incredibly demanding. Having office is incredibly demanding. The service in Sutton is incredibly lucky to have not only people willing to do it, but people willing to fight for the job. So that's pretty rare, and we're really lucky. It's just a huge amount of time into volunteer positions, and everybody on the stage has put and is continuing to put a lot of time and effort into it. We have the bonus of a real exchange, I think, of different perspectives and ideas tonight, and I just want to acknowledge the courage it takes to do this, not behind a screen name or a meme or anything, just open, direct, person to person. So thank you all to the candidates who are here tonight. And with that, I will hand it off to tonight's moderator, another fellow volunteer. Stephanie Collins Sullivan is the chair of the Sutton Cultural Council and a fellow volunteer giving her time to this town. I hope she plugs what the SCC does, including the absolutely wonderful concerts on the Common that will be returning this summer, because there's no better way to spend a breezy summer night if you have not gone, if you do nothing else other than go to a concert on the Common. And with that, I'll hand it off to Stephanie.
Thank you very much, Jen. Can you hear me? Okay. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming tonight, this evening, to the Democratic Town Committee. We appreciate your participation and your interest in knowing more about the community and what's going to best serve you, and get your interests out there for the committee members this evening. As Jen mentioned, I'm on the Sutton Cultural Council. If you see me out there, I love dancing in the summer, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to attend with us this summer on Thursday evenings. It's a great event, and just like the Sutton Cultural Council, it gives us an opportunity through the council to promote the best of Sutton. And so here we are this evening again to try to promote the best of Sutton and try to get the best information that's out there for everybody. I'm just going to go over some of the rules and procedures for the evening so that we're all in accord and understand what's going to be happening. The committee members each, as Jennifer mentioned, have been given an opportunity. I'm so sorry. The candidates have been offered the questions in advance to make it fair and equitable across the questioning when we were answering questions. And they have been given the same questions, and they've had the same time to answer all of the questions available. They have prepared 2-minute speeches and responses to each of the questions, and the goal is to keep speaking portion of the event to approximately 1 hour. And after that, we want to be able to, not per answer. Okay, so this is my first time doing this evening. We're not going to give them 1 hour to speak because we'll be here until November.
Last year, everybody had 1 hour for answers, so
It's 2-minute responses. We want to have 1 hour total, maybe a little bit more, depending on how wonderful and then they respond back to us. But we want to be able to get everybody a chance to respond and give you an opportunity to meet them afterwards. So if we do have time after, we'd like to have that extended to you. Candidates will be asked the questions in alphabetical order originally. And in addition to the questions, each candidate will have a minute to deliver their prepared introduction and 1 minute for closing remarks. This is not a debate format, so the candidates are asked not to encourage or respond back to each other or reference each other candidates' answers. The moderator will not interrupt myself unless the candidate significantly exceeds their time. And then I will gently remind you that the time is, that you have to wrap up your question. We ask that you not interrupt or disrupt the other candidates during their time. And we also ask that the audience not interrupt and disrupt the candidates. If they do, then we'll give that time back if there is time that's taken from them to answer their questions. And we're asking when you're citing facts or studies, please include sources and the year the information was published so that we're all informed of where that information came from. And please make it credible and relevant to within the last 10 years of relevancy. Or if it's historic, citing the concept or precedent, that's fine too. And if citing Massachusetts law or bylaw, please similarly be specific. You have any questions? Well,
If there's a couple of concepts for the candidates, like if things like 40B come up or Chapter 70, I would say explain that too, because there may be people in the crowd that don't know what that means and it gets so complicated. So at your discretion, I know it takes time, but that's something I would suggest.
so we're going to start. We're going to have both the select board and the school committee here this evening, but we're going to start with those candidates who are running unopposed this evening, so they can give an opportunity to have a quick introduction of themselves. And then we're just going to ask you to take a 2-minute introduction of yourself and explain your role and what you're running for. And please feel free to leave the stage afterwards. So we'll start with
Sharon or
Michael.
start with that mic there.
Yeah, and pass it down.
Hi everyone, my name is Michael Gagan and I am a candidate for re-election to the Sutton Planning Board. When I was thinking about joining a board in town some 8 years ago, I wanted to find one that could utilize my skills and interest me. I have worked for the Mass State Auditor's Office for the past 27 years. That job has taught me how to review documents and data, interview a wide variety of people, and make decisions and recommendations. The planning board seemed like a great fit for me. I want to thank the voters for giving me the opportunity to serve on the planning board for these last 8 years. This year serving as the chairperson. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve with such great fellow board members. We come prepared, we ask the tough questions, we allow everyone an opportunity to voice their opinions, and we are willing to sometimes make unpopular decisions if it is in the best interest of the town. One of the biggest things I have learned being on the board is that you must put your personal interest to the side sometimes and take a vote for what is in the best interest of the overall town. Serving on the board takes a lot of time and effort, and we do not do it for the money, which is zero. I think I can speak for all American candidates up here tonight in saying that we do it because we love the little town of Sutton and we want to give something back and keep it going. I am also on the Sutton 4th Committee, a small but tireless group of residents working throughout the year to put together an incredible day of fun in Sutton, with a parade, music, food trucks, games, and so much more. This year, as we celebrate our country's 250th anniversary, I would be remiss if I did not invite everyone to join us on Saturday, June 27th, for a great community day, ending with fireworks at dusk. Even though I am running unopposed this year, I still believe it is important to come in front of the voters at events like tonight to ask for your vote. I do not take your vote for granted. I respectfully ask you for your vote next Tuesday, May 26th, to keep me on the Sutton Planning Board. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dan Lessard. I'm running for the Housing Subcommittee. I've been in town about 50 years. A little old, but 50 years I've been here. I was on the Board of Health for about 13 years and chairman. I'm also on the Sewer Commission. And I'm looking to go on to the housing. The reason I'm doing the housing is because I have a background in it. And this town needs affordable housing. It needs people who have a concept of how to deal with tenants, landlords, contractors, all of which I've been able to do before. We have land in town. We have the resources to build affordable housing for these people. This town needs it very badly. I am going unopposed, but I am asking for your vote. I'll always be there for any phone calls, as long as they're not too late at night, to answer these questions. I went to a meeting today, as a matter of fact, with the housing. You have a group of people working together. I'm very impressed. It's a well-organized group that work together, not against each other. We're looking out for the best of the town of Sutton. I would appreciate your vote. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Mark Bailey, and I am a lifelong resident of Sutton. I'm a proud graduate of the class of 1972. It seems to get further and further away. My parents, they were also very involved in the community. My father served on many boards, a select board, in many committees. And in the process when we were growing up, my father and mother both said, you need to give back to your community. I still went to schools here. It's been 57 years I've been on the payroll, and I love every minute of it. And also at the church, St. Mark's Church, I was the organist and music director there for just under 60 years. About 10 years ago, I went to vote, and I noticed Housing Authority, and it was empty. And I thought, this would be a great opportunity to do this. And so I wrote my name in, and I called my friends and my relatives, and with 11 votes, I made it. Small town. But through the process, I've been there 10 years looking for a third term. I've really come to enjoy being there. As Dan was saying, it's a very well-organized group. We work well together, and John Slocum is the executive director, who does a phenomenal job. The maintenance of the facility is magnificent. There are 4 buildings, 40 apartments, and they're very well kept up. And also there's a lot of social gatherings there between holidays and in the good weather. We have cookouts and so forth. So you get to actually meet the residents who live there, who you're working for. And it's been a great thing for me. I've really thoroughly enjoyed it. So I'm just asking if I'm running unopposed, but when election day comes, you see my name, put a X next to that, and help me get the next 5 years there. And after that, we'll see how far we go, because I'll be close to 80.
Good evening to all of you. My name is Sharon McCann-Kling, and I am seeking election for the Open Library Trustee position. By way of introduction, I'd like to know, when I was in college, I was a work-study student in the city and was able to rotate through the various departments in a branch library for over a year, which I did enjoy. As a result of that, I did consider a career as a librarian. But my first full-time job out of college was in healthcare management, and that is where I remained for over 30 years, starting my retirement here in Sutton. I've lived in Sutton for almost 12 years. Prior to that, I spent most of my life residing During that time, earlier in my career, I worked at Whitensville Regional Hospital, as it was known back then, for over 17 years. Both then and now, I try to help my community where and when I can, as a volunteer, and to work cooperatively with others. This is something I believe in, though this is my first time seeking public election. Since moving here, I have been active in the Sutton Garden Club and on the board there for most of those years. And I am proud of our successful plant sale held this past Saturday on the Common. I am active in my church, having been part of various ministries over the years. And also, for the last few years, my husband and I have been alternates for Meals on Wheels deliveries in Northbridge. If I can help Sutton as a library trustee, I love libraries, books, and learning in their various formats, having had a library card since about the age of 6. I'm currently in one local in-person book club and 2 online book clubs, so I have been and am an active user of our library. The trustees and library director, Jim McQueen, will be leading a new planning effort very soon with our town community. While I have a lot of specifics to learn, I know our library, like many others in the state and around the country, faces various challenges, including how to integrate AI and other new technologies with our resources, and how to respond to space constraints, aging buildings. I do take my commitment seriously, and I offer my best efforts for serving as a library trustee. Thank you for being here tonight and for the opportunity to introduce myself to you. And also, while I am running unopposed, I would appreciate your votes. As I said to my husband, if there is just one vote, he's in trouble.
Thank you very much for your time, and if you are ready, can we bring up our select board members? Okay. So our school and select board members are start this end, and then since the microphone is at this end, why don't we start this end? Yes, please.
Very good.
We're going to start with introductions for our all of our members who are on the select board and who are on the school committee board. They will introduce themselves as they start.
Just remind us.
Yeah, very close to the mic.
Yeah, all right.
Somebody in the back said that. So make sure you just talk right there.
Okay. So I first want to thank Jen and DTC for the second year hosting this event. I know it was a concerted effort by you to get this to happen, and you reached out to a lot of different people, so thank you. I think it is important for the voters to get to meet the candidates. So I actually grew up in Manchog, so like Mr. Bailey, I've been in town for a very, very long time. I'm the class of 1983. I graduated here in Sutton. At the time that Proposition 2.5 passed, I was actually a sophomore, and we had a large exodus from the school, and our field hockey team was playing with only 9 against other towns that were fielding 11. I chose to live here as an adult, not because I grew up here, but because they were building subdivisions, and there was an affordable house, not affordable, but it was $129,900 back then for a just under 1,700 square foot colonial up in the northeast section of Sutton, up in Stonebridge Farms, and it was a great buy for my husband and I, and we settled there back in 1993, and we raised our children there, and we hope to retire here. I started my work career as an executive secretary, so for anyone that's older than 50, you might remember a secretarial school called Catherine Gibbs. It was based in Boston, and they were pretty stringent with training you how to be the secretary for executives. I then worked for a while, and at the age of 21 decided that I would return to college. I went to Bentley University and became a certified public accountant. I have spent 30 years volunteering in town. I started with my church, which led into Chain of Lights for over 20 years. I still do work with the Chain of Lights through the Historical Society, which I've been a board member since 2016. I was on the school building committee from 2006 to 9 for this facility. I was involved with Sutton Youth Soccer as a coach. I was recently on the Housing Production Working Group that submitted our new housing plan. And I did a lot of the fundraising for the American Legion Park in Manchog, which received federal and state money and improved that playground, not only for the community, but anyone in the Blackstone Valley and greater region. And I'm wrapping up a year on the select board, filling the term that was vacated by David Hall. My background as an auditor, CPA, and genealogy aficionado have developed a skill set which provides me with the ability to research primary sources, deep dive into financial reports, and make connections from different sources to determine impact. I have a trust and verify personality, which I consider healthy skepticism, but other people can think it's quite contentious. I also have a great memory, which has not always been a gift, especially when remembering and reminding others of things they would rather forget. I am not afraid to ask challenging questions or be on the minority side of an issue. I seek clarification, definitions, hold presenters accountable for the information they are presenting. I'm not afraid of hard work and actually really like tedious tasks. And fun fact, I use my shorthand skills. I'm at all the meetings, so my notes are usually pretty comprehensive. I mean, I think one of the other questions you had was sharing what inspired you to seek office. So last year I was elected by the voters to fill the one-year remaining term of the resigning chair. I chose this option as an opportunity to learn about the position and determine if my skill set fit the position, and if the time commitment fit my schedule and family responsibilities. I believe in the last year I added value to the board's decision-making responsibilities through my ability to deep dive into information and ask fact-based questions. My schedule affords me the ability to make the select board my job, giving me the time to do extensive research, which I can then share with others who don't have the same amount of time. If anyone remembers the show MASH, this is a weird out there thing, my favorite character was Radar, and as a young girl, I thought he was so amazing how he always knew what the major needed before the major needed it, and that's kind of been my mantra forever. I like to have the answers before people ask the questions. Due to my varied volunteer activities and lifelong residency in Sutton, I have a very diverse network of Sutton citizens with whom I can reach out to give input on decisions that are before the board. As the board is charged with making decisions based on judgment and not based on the view of the majority of residents, this access provides me varied perspectives before I have to make a decision that affects the entire town. So I thank you for giving me the opportunity to answer these questions, and I hope you vote for me.
be hard, but following Christine, I should have gone first. My name is Russell Longendorfer. I'm a candidate for Select Board. I'm running for a 3-year term. My wife Kelly and I brought our family here to Sutton 9 years ago. We have 3 kids. They are aged 8, 6, and 3, and all of them will be attending Sutton Public Schools. We love it here. I've lived in Massachusetts my whole life. Sutton is where I really feel at home, and we're planning to spend the rest of our lives here. God willing. So I've been getting involved with the community as much as I can. I've been watching all the board meetings on YouTube. I'm running for Select Board because I want to give back to our community. And I want to see more people my age get involved in town governance, and I think that starts by leading by example. I hope that by serving in this capacity, we can get more people with skills and expertise to start showing up, lending a hand, using some volunteer work to meet the needs of our town. As for my skill set, I'm a physician assistant. I have a background in critical care and cardiology. I'm a cooperative, agreeable person. I know how to build relationships with all kinds of people. I can communicate with all kinds of people in all kinds of different ways. I always keep an open mind and don't judge. I have the humility to be able to admit when I'm wrong about something, when I don't know something, and I can change my mind when new information comes to light. I worked in ICU medicine during the COVID pandemic, and I learned to have really difficult conversations with people. It's not something that came naturally, but it's something that is very much part of my personality now when necessary. I can handle stress. I'm comfortable making decisions. I can deal with complexity. I understand systems. I love to learn new things constantly. So I am no longer in the ICU. I now have a 40-hour-a-week job, and I have a fixed day off every week, and I have the time to commit to something like this, to put in the homework and do the legwork that it takes to contribute to a board and serve our town.
Matera. I've been in Sutton since 2012. I've been in Sutton since 2012. I've been on the zoning board since 2018. And one of the cool things about our town that I really realized is it runs on volunteers. The town would not function without the volunteers on the board giving up their time and effort, sometimes with family. So I think it's really awesome. I've worked in various places. I'll talk a little bit about what my skill set is. It's process efficiency and workflow and things like that. I worked at UMass for a long time designing systems for admissions, financial aid, and things like that. One of the questions you always have to ask is why? Why do we do things this way? Is it because we've always done them this way? How can we make things better? One of the things that I really loved about that job was bringing people from all different walks, from vice presidents to the workers on the ground, and figuring out how do we make this process better, something that works for everyone. A fun fact is if you've ever known someone who applied to the UMass system since 2012, they probably applied to a system that I've designed, which is pretty cool to think about. What inspired me to run for school committee? My kids are in the school. I always wondered sort of what was going on, why they came home without homework, how can we make things better, how can we help the schools, and so I really wanted to just kind of dig in and just volunteer, because I think to lead in something you have to serve, and so I wanted to offer that service. I've been lucky enough to be on the board for a year, and I think we're heading in a really good direction at the schools, and I want to kind of continue that and keep that progress moving forward. So appreciate the opportunity to be here.
I graduated to reading glasses. My name is Erika Osbourne. My family and I have lived in Sutton for over 20 years, and we have a daughter in Sutton Middle School. I am seeking a 3-year seat on the school committee. the few recordings for the ones I've missed. I'm also a member of middle school PTO, the enrollment committee, and the Sutton Middle School Site Council. I've joined these because it's important to me that I am an active member of the school committee. Why am I running now? When you were in school years ago, did you ever sit back and think, wow, when I grow up, I really want to be involved in school politics? Show of hands. Yeah, neither did I. I really didn't start to lean in until it mattered to me. This is our town. I have said that again and again during the past month or so. I have said that again and again when I have watched the school committee meetings during the past 6 years. And I have said that again and again as I have watched and voted during our town elections. This is our town, our community, and it is our turn to show up and support. I can help from the sidelines, but only so much. If I take a more active role in the conversation, it helps me to bring my unique skill set there for the students, for the school, and for Sutton. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Patrick Royce, and like Mr. Bailey and Christine, I'm also a lifelong resident and Sutton graduate, Sutton High, class of '96. I've got 5 kids in total, all of whom are either recent graduates, 2020, class of 21, class of 24. I've got 4 existing students within the school. I've got 1 senior, sophomore, and a preschooler as well. My day job, I work in commercial banking. And as part of that role, I've served on various nonprofit and public boards as well. I focus, try and strive for particular focus with respect to governance on those boards. In addition, like Chris, I've been sitting on the school committee for the past 1 year for the appointed seat. In addition to that, I've spent the past 12 years serving on the Board of Trustees of a public charter school in Worcester. Throughout my time on that school board, served on the Finance Committee, including as the committee chair and treasurer, served as a co-board chair during COVID, including through an executive director search process. And over the last 3 years, and I'm in the final year of my final term now, served over the past 3 years as board chair and chair of the governance committee. Originally, I was interested last year in the vacated seat, given my prior experience. Felt that I could contribute meaningfully to our district. Hopefully, for those who've been paying attention to the school committee meetings, they'll hopefully agree that I have contributed. I believe in public service, and hopefully I'll have the opportunity to continue my service over the next year. And I just want to thank Jen, because I know I'm probably the one individual here who's running for an uncontested seat, so I'll try and be relatively brief with my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you to the candidates for their introductions of themselves, their skill sets, and the things that set them apart from the other candidates. So thank you for that introduction.
Is there a coin in front of Patrick?
Yes.
All right, let's say heads is school committee and tails is select board, and that's how we're going to decide which group goes first. So heads is school committee.
Yes.
All right, so select board, you're going to go first. I did want to say, this is Christine, she forgot to say her name. There are 2 openings on the select board and 3 candidates. Daniel couldn't be here tonight, the 3rd candidate. There's 1 opening for the 3-year seat on the school committee, which Chris and Erika are running for that seat, and Patrick is running for the 1-year seat. Yeah. Sorry, I have 2 little kids. If we forgot to say that at the outset, so Patrick is technically running unopposed, but he has agreed to answer the questions. I know school committee is something a lot of people think about, so he's been on the board. So that's it. Thank you. And why don't we start with you, Christine?
So the first question, town's administration?
So thanks for this question.
And I
because-
just also want to remind you that we have the clock running, so please be mindful.
Okay. I think the select board itself is working through this with reviewing some of its policies. So the main lesson learned during the last year on the board is that the collective board is actually the executive trustee of the town and does not represent the citizens in the sense that the board must vote on the base of the view of the majority of the voters. The voters are the legislative body. The select board is responsible to bring the warrant articles to the legislative body, but the final say belongs to the over 7,000 registered voters in town, which sadly we only have about 200 to 300 maybe sometimes voters that show up at the town meeting. So the board can and should seek citizen input on the issues before them, but ultimately the elected board members are tasked with using their individual judgment to come to a collective decision which is publicly supported by the entire board, regardless of the vote being unanimous or just a majority. The select board establishes the strategy and policies which guide the town's management, led by the town manager, and the town administration are our employees and must answer to the board. The charter, bylaws, operating and capital budgets are approved or rejected by the voters, who are the legislative body, and when the select board presents it. The select board doesn't oversee or interfere with the operations of the school. This was, something I learned too. The school is under the purview of the school committee, which has its own charge, and the superintendent reports to them. So even during the budget process, the town manager does the municipal side, the school superintendent does the school side, and then it all comes to the voters in a collective budget. So, thank you.
Same question?
Yes, the same question.
All right.
Do you want me to repeat it?
Oh, that's okay. So, as Sutton residents, the town administration works for all of us. The select board acts as like a board of directors for our professional town manager and our municipal employees. Select board's job is to coordinate with other boards without directly managing things that are under another authority's purview. The select board is our voice inside the town's administration. We have these highly capable employees, and as town residents, we vote for people to serve on select board to represent us, to show our administrators what values we have as a town, what direction we'd like to go in, what our overall strategy for the present and future should be. The select board acts as an executive branch of the town government. They make decisions on a macro level, they represent our interests, and they act as a representative for the entire town. The authority of the select board comes from the voters, not just as a representative democracy, you pick us, but also you vote at the town meeting to ratify or not to ratify the warrants that the select board presents to you. When a resident is elected to select board, we as a town are placing our trust in that person. We're saying this is someone we can rely on to use good judgment, to do their homework, to look out for all of us, to make sure that everyone in Sutton has a voice when decisions are being made.
Is the microphone fund here?
All right.
Next question, please. What is your stance on new housing and commercial development in Sutton? And how would you ensure it benefits town revenue without overburdening infrastructure? Give us 2 specific actions you would take.
Good. I would like to see new housing in Sutton. I love living here, and like everyone else, I don't want to see this place change into some densely populated suburb with lots of traffic, lose the beautiful open spaces that we have here. But luckily, I don't think that we're on the brink of that happening. I think we have room to welcome some new neighbors, to keep a healthy flow of new residents. I wish that some of my friends from high school or college could come live in Sutton, and we could raise our kids together and go for walks in Purgatory. I have maybe one friend who could afford to live here right now, and he lives in Manhattan, so I think he's looking for a different lifestyle. Besides that, it's just financially out of reach for most people, even if you have a well-paying job. There are very few rentals, there are very few starter homes, there are very few smaller homes that, say for example, my parents or my in-laws could downsize into if they wanted to one day. On the one hand, it's a good problem to have. If you live here, it means that your property value has grown. It means that it's a great place to live, and that's absolutely true. just don't think that property value should be our only focus. Who's going to work here if there's nowhere to live? The schools have been struggling with stagnant enrollment. How are we going to fix that if new families can't afford to move in? What are we going to do when our kids reach adulthood and they want to be part of the community that they grew up in? And what are we going to do if our parents need to move closer to us? What are we going to do when we want to downsize one day when 2 acres of land becomes too much to take care of? So there's definitely an unmet need here, and we need to be serious about meeting it in a responsible, thoughtful way, of course, that is a Sutton way of doing things. It has to work for all of us, but it's not something we can put off either. While we wait, property values go higher, and we just are losing a flow of new entrants into the town. And people that live here currently are having to move away. As for the commercial space, for me, that's a numbers question. You have to look at the data and you see what the demand for commercial space is. I personally am very satisfied with the amount of retail that's available here. As far as amenities, we have shops at Millbury right next door. We're halfway between Worcester and Providence. I don't feel that there are any amenities I can't access. So I'd welcome more, of course, if the demand is there and if our infrastructure can accommodate, and especially if it will benefit the town revenue. There's plenty of reasons to want to do business here. Sutton has a single tax rate. It has great road access, some good commercial space, and I don't think we need to do things like offer tax breaks to businesses for moving in here when we have unmet needs in the budget. We have an attractive place to do business, and we don't need to give out tax incentives to get businesses in.
Just like you felt initially, I feel like your answer, that was fantastic. So I had the opportunity to, prior to being on the select board, participating in the housing production working group that worked from January of 2025 through July of 2025 and was instrumental in helping to pass the MBTA bylaw, which was overwhelmingly approved at town meeting. And that was a difficult, contentious issue that was sent down to us from the state. Right now, the state is having a housing shortage, and it's really putting a lot of pressure on a lot of its communities to add housing. Just like many rural towns, Sutton doesn't have a lot of its area that's covered by public water and sewer. And currently, our public water systems, we actually technically have 4, I guess. You have a separate standalone system here at the school. You have a very small system in Manchog Village, which covers about a mile square, maybe a little bit more area. The larger district is the Wilkinsonville Water District with 3 wells, and it's serving the largest majority of the population, which exists in northeast Sutton, known as Wilkinsonville. And then Whitensville Water serves some of South Sutton. We're starting to have PFAS issues in our water, and we have to be mindful of any large additional growth and how it's going to impact our community, given the fact that we're currently in a level 2 drought. We have only 40 housing authority units in town. We have 55 affordable units in total. 40 of them came right out of the gate when 40B was the Affordable Housing Law as part of the Civil Rights Act. Was passed in 1969, and as our housing authority candidates commented, they're very well maintained. I would strongly encourage the housing authority to work with the town for town-owned land to mindfully add more of these units to free up some of the smaller homes in town that are becoming a burden to our aging population with our median age at 44. I'll pass my time. Thank you. Sorry.
Christine, I'm going to ask you the next question.
Okay.
With limited resources, how do you prioritize competing town needs, infrastructure, public safety, education, and services? And how do you approach collaboration with the school committee and planning board when issues overlap?
So starting out, our town has a population of almost 10,000 people. So in my opinion, public safety is number 1. And public safety is defined as your first responders, the safety for walkability of your roads, the safety of the roads, the trees hanging over the roads. So that public safety impacts all of us. That's also supported by a study that's out right now between the federal government and Central Mass Regional Planning. It's called Vision Zero. They're trying to reduce all the pedestrian deaths that are happening between cars and people and make roadways more multimodal safe. So our budget is limited by our revenue. So whenever we're working to figure out what our priorities are, we first have to understand our revenue and what our contractual requirements are that eat into that revenue first. And I'm a big supporter of the tri-board or a smaller tri-board to put the school committee, the finance committee, the select board, the superintendent, the town manager, the business managers for each all together to figure out what our priorities are. We can't fill all the wants, we have to fill all the needs, and somewhere in the middle we have to make decisions each year based on what our revenue is. We're 20 years past our past override. We had 2 operating overrides since Proposition 2.5 went into place, and it may be time for us to just look at where we are. I know the state's starting to talk about putting an inflation adjustment maybe on Prop 2.5, maybe creating special ed trust at the state level to help local communities with some of those high costs that they're feeling. So I'm just going to conclude with public safety. Thank you.
Right. Okay, so limited resources, how do you prioritize? So most pressing needs first, and safety issues take the precedence. We have the duty to allocate funds responsibly, and sometimes that means prioritizing paying for maintenance, even when there are other more pressing needs, to avoid having to pay more for repairs a year or 2 down the road. We expect the select board to use town funds wisely and to avoid waste wherever possible, even if that means deprioritizing things that we know residents really want. Select board members have to be ready to make tough decisions in the best interest of the town. Our goal for this budget year was to maintain the current level of services. I'm grateful for the work done by the school committee, the select board, FinCom, ultimately the voters, who were able to allocate the funds fairly despite a very difficult budget situation. Nevertheless, we didn't reach our goal of level services. Parents in the audience, for example, know that there were significant cuts to the school system, resulting in the loss of our middle and high school librarian, loss of the middle school music program. Everyone who knows the roads know that they're behind on some road maintenance. We have more trees to manage that we can keep up with. There's also deferred maintenance on town buildings that needs to be dealt with before it becomes a bigger problem. Our town manager and our finance committee can make projections about what it would take to raise enough funds to really maintain or even restore these services, and we'll need to explore all the options for how to get there. As Christine mentioned, one of the line items that eats a lot into the budget is retirement benefits and health insurance costs. I spoke to Austin after town meeting and about the health insurance thing, and I think I can hopefully lend my expertise when they might renegotiate the health insurance contracts to the best of my ability. I'm not in health insurance, but I can speak the language. As far as collaboration, I think there's wide agreement that the tri-board meeting was a good thing. It led to some very productive exchanges of information. It definitely needs to happen more often. We probably don't need every person from every board at a tri-board. It might make more sense to have 2 or 3 representatives from each body, and then all the business managers and department heads, so that we can schedule things more easily, have an easier time handling business, and we need to commit to recurring meetings. Besides that, we need to continue communicating as much as possible. We have the benefit of being a small town where a lot of people have each other's phone numbers, and information can spread much more quickly. Select boards members have the duty to be well informed about all the issues going on in all the various departments, so that they can have the whole picture in mind when they're making decisions, and so they can facilitate communication wherever it's needed.
How will you improve both transparency and community engagement, particularly around complex issues and decisions?
All right, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I wrote something down, but this is a very hard question. I struggled with this question more than any others, and I rewrote my answer a bunch of times. And the main forces here are For one thing, we do have quite a bit of transparency, and I'm grateful for that. We have the town cable department publishes all the meetings on YouTube, and that has allowed someone like me to get all this information and get up to speed very quickly about everything going on. The meeting minutes are published and they're signed off on as a part of official business, so if you don't want to watch the 15 hours worth of videos, you can just do the minutes quickly too. There's the town website, there's the budget book, it's 100 pages. To be honest, I still haven't gone all the way through it, but it's a huge wealth of information. So I think the challenge here is not so much that the information isn't public, it's just that there's so much of it. You know, the people on the boards make the time to chew through it all and do the best they can to make good decisions based on what they find. And the rest of us who are residents, we are living our lives and we're all busy with this and that, and the average person doesn't have, you know, 20 hours a week. I can only imagine how much time Christine spends on keeping up with everything. But that doesn't mean that it's not important to get that information out to the public. So one thing I've heard suggested is maybe having the school newspaper club write some articles about what's happening in boards. You know, one way or the other, it would depend on volunteerism, whether that was the high school or even citizen journalists who want to write everything up. I'm open to all suggestions, and I'm supportive of whatever it takes to get people involved. I think the more people are involved and know what's going on and contribute, the better off we'll all be. If we all know what's going on and we all try our best, we all really care about this place, which I know we do, we'll be okay, whatever happens.
So I'm actually going to take a lead from you. I'm going to give a giant shout out to our cable department run by Pam Nichols and Christine Hicks. Without their tireless efforts of recording all the meetings, we wouldn't have access to the information that we do. I'm a reader of the minutes, although the minutes definitely don't have the content of the meeting. And a fun fact is because it's all on YouTube, you can just put it on while you're doing your stuff like a podcast. So some people listen to music. I'm a geek that listens to meetings while I'm walking the dog, driving the car, doing the laundry. I think we do have a lot of transparency. I think we've had a significant amount of change in our town management, our school leadership. I know we have more retirements and changes coming up. We're at a crossroads with new board members, new staff all over the town, and it gives us an opportunity to revisit old practices and maybe redesign them, look at the policies and what's been changing in the country, in the world. So the enrollment decline isn't just our town, it isn't just our state, it isn't just our country. The affordability issue, same thing. If you listen to public radio, it's all over the world. And so these are not problems that are unique to us, and I'll agree with Russell. I think boards coming together, citizens coming together, talking over hard decisions will keep it transparent. And I appreciate the DTC doing this, and in such a manner that does make it feel nonpartisan, and really in an effort to just give the voters an opportunity to meet the candidates. So that was a hard question. Thank you.
Thank you both. So this is the last question for both of you, and I'll repeat it to both of you. Given the polarization in our community, what would you do as a town leader to encourage dialogue and help residents work for the common good? Yes.
Okay, so I had to look up the word polarization. So I don't know if anyone else did, but it's the division of something into two sharply contrasting groups, sets of opinions, or directions, generally describing how things move towards opposite extremes. Now, I'm older, I'm getting close to retirement, I don't have children in the school system, I don't pay attention to federal or state politics. I personally am not seeing a community with extremes. I see a community with a varied population that are at different points on their journey of life, and so have differing priorities. But I think I see a community also that understands that things are expensive, gasoline, I went food shopping today, wow, glad my boys are gone. And I think when we come into a room or have hard discussions, a lot of times we see we're all coming from the same point, and we might understand better that we can't have all of our wants. We have to kind of figure it out together. I'm having a brain pause here. I think the tri-board would be a great opportunity to show the community that their volunteer, elected, and appointed officials are willing to do the hard work, coming from different viewpoints, to do collaboratively what is in the best interest of the town, and then whatever that decision is, do the hard legwork to market it to the town, the same way we did with the MBTA bylaw. Have facts, have data, have information, be at Waters Farm Day, be at Oh My Board, be knocking on doors, be using your email list, and just let people know when important decisions are there. There's nothing to say that we can't call up people and say, there's an important issue before the town right now. I know your schedule's really busy. I know you don't follow the meetings, but you might want to show up for this one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with Christine. At the end of the day, I think we're not as far apart from each other as you might think. Every once in a while, you see some big disagreement on the Sutton side, or you hear about a big decision like the MBTA Communities Act, and it can be hard to understand how everyone can hold a different opinion from you about something you feel has an obvious answer. I found that people reach different conclusions because they have different experiences, and those experiences influence the way you think. At the end of the day, we're all here in Sutton because we like it here. And you're here right now, and you're watching on TV because you care about this place too. And I like that we live in a place where people have diverse viewpoints, but we're able to talk it out. It's refreshing compared to discourse on national politics, on the news, all that stuff. By contrast, for example, if you were watching Select Board 2 nights ago, there's just this amazing, healthy discussion that produced so much information and changed a lot of people's minds and moved everything forward in a way that was just so respectful and mutually appreciative of the work that everyone does. It was great to see. And so I'm proud to live in a place where that kind of discussion can happen. And we just have to hold on to that culture of talking things out, neighbors first, all those things. One of the things that I think really helped with the MBTA Communities Act was the DTC put on a public hearing with Wes Stanhope there and talked through whoever wanted to show up about it, answer whatever questions came up, and really went through it. When we have opportunities like that to come together as a community with an open door and just talk through all the different questions, I think it helps us land in a very good, healthy place. And it lets us all feel like we're part of the process, as we should be. So I like to see more like that, and it doesn't have to be the DTC that's happening those things too. It's hard, everything costs money, and it's always a trade-off, but I love living here, and I love that culture, and I hope we can keep doing that kind of thing.
Thank you. That's the questions for the select board. So now we're going to move to the school committee. We have, like the select board, 5 questions for them as well. I would ask them a question and then we will go through. So the first question is, what do you believe is the most pressing challenge facing Sutton schools right now, and how would you address it via your role with the committee?
Sure. I talked about this last year. In addition to the enrollment decline, I think we really are facing a crisis of trust in the public education system. We look at things like the National Assessment of Educational Progress from 2024, which said 8th grade science scores are falling by 4 points since 2019, 12th grade reading and math scores are falling by 3 points during the same period. You see things like Harvard offering remedial education courses to people coming in. The question is, what are we doing? What's the value of public education? For me, fundamentally, the mission of the public schools is about creating an environment where everyone can learn, thrive, and succeed. So what does succeed mean? I think success means both on a college track or into the workforce. So basic skills that you need to be a good citizen in society. What does that look like? What does success look like? It looks like students who are passing the state average on things like MCAS for reading and science. The state baseline for these things, based on the MCAS, is under 50%. It looks like more than just a competency determination, which is what the state is rolling out. If anyone reads the Globe, there was an April 18th piece by James Fizer, and it was an opinion piece, and he said 2/3 of districts say that a D- is satisfactory completion of a competency determination. Can you believe that? 2/3 of the districts say a D- is okay to be a successful high school graduate. That's not okay. These low expectations filter down. They cause people. I suggested that teaching and learning be a standing agenda item. We should always be talking about it, because if we don't talk about it, we can't measure it, we can't manage it, and we can't improve it. So, thank you.
Thank you. Just a reminder to please keep the mic to us.
Towns and cities all over the country are grappling with public school budgets. Costs go up every year, some more than others, and funding doesn't always go up to match. I have watched as the school committee and the budget subcommittee have wrestled with a tight budget and tried to make every cent work for the students. I have listened to the select board and the finance and warrant and advisory committees as they have struggled with the school budget. And I've watched the school committee meetings from across central Massachusetts. We're all having the same issues, and we're all solving them differently. And if elected to the school committee, I will play an active role in resolving the budget issues for Sutton. We'll need to make some difficult choices, and it's crucial that the town boards continue to work with each other and with the town and maintain open lines of communications about how we can do what's best for our students and their teachers. So a very short answer.
Thank you.
So, while I do agree with Chris, I think he said it well, personally I think ultimately the funding of our schools and developing a sustainable budget is really the biggest challenge that we have ahead of us. As we've all heard this year, there is no easy fix. There's been lots of talk about overrides this year, and given the recent votes in surrounding towns, I suspect for there to be a further push here in Sutton. And I just want to go on the record again, because I've said publicly before, I'm not opposed to the concept of an override, especially if it's to give our students what they need, or what we need to properly instruct them. School committee's role is to advocate for the students in the funding. However, we're also tasked with ensuring that we're being responsible in deploying the resources we already have. The district has seen a lot of change over the past 15 years, including the enrollment falling 23% from 1,632 students to 1,254 students, which is according to DTC's DART website. What we need to do, we need to take a deeper dive and reassess where we are and where we want to be as a district. In my past 10 months, as a member of the school committee, I've advocated for looking further into the enrollment decline and standing up the enrollment committee. I also think we need to be working as a committee and with other town boards, like Christine mentioned, to develop a 3 to 5 year operational sustainability roadmap.
I'm going to give you question number 2. With ongoing budget constraints, what values guide your prioritization regarding programs for struggling learners, foreign languages, arts, early childhood education, and sports?
So obviously there's the non-negotiables, the state requirements that we have, including for special education. As for arts and foreign language, I do believe they're an important part of a well-rounded education. But in periods of fiscal constraint, we sometimes have to prioritize the core instructional and student support needs first. My focus is on the early childhood education. For those who've been watching the school committee meetings this year, specifically during budget season, you'll know that there are competing priorities in funding. School committee members were even presented with various funding options, including cuts to the high school and middle school versus the elementary buildings. It's tough as a committee member to be put in a position to advocate for one group of learners over another, but sometimes that's our job. I believe our role as school committee members is to represent the entire district, and for me, ensuring that our early learners have as much support as possible. The example I guess I would give was prioritizing the second grade over music this year. We needed to cut a position, and grade 2 was facing an increase in class sizes from approximately 17 to 21 students. I looked at the music program where we either had a very small group or sometimes one-on-one music instruction. I believed it was more responsible to prioritize maintaining reasonable class sizes that were affecting over 80 elementary students in the second grade. I consider that to have been one of the most prudent and responsible moves that we can do as a small district.
Sutton prides itself on rigorous academics. We also have great sports teams. In terms of academics, this means rigorous academics for all of our kids. And for some students, this means college prep, like science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And for some, this means preparing for the trades. And for some, this means special education, whether that student needs a lot of help or a little. All of our students deserve equal access to education. With budget constraints, we'll need to make trade-offs and think creatively to support our students and our school. And for me, that means prioritizing programs to provide incremental improvements to the schools in ways that are fiscally responsible. The school committee and the school administration have taken some steps in this area. We're starting STAR testing in the middle school and a K-5 literacy program, and I've started to talk about the idea of implementing a math program to foster the academic rigor that we're all in favor of. As for foreign languages, I'd love to see more languages offered, or for languages to be offered for early elementary through the high school. This would be an amazing advantage for our students as we enter more and more of a global market. But this ties back to budget constraints, and funding for this will continue to be a challenge.
So for me, I was surprised during the budget debate when there was talk about eliminating the second grade and increasing class sizes in the early grades. I really believe that those grades are crucial to have small class sizes. We had a labor management committee meeting to talk about that earlier on in the year. Those kids are just coming in and they need that solid foundation to be built. So for me, I stood up with two of my colleagues and argued in favor of keeping those resources. And ultimately, I think we need to prioritize the district as a whole. I think Pat said, looking at the data, we need to be more strategic about that. We need to gauge people's interests. You might get those surveys, your kids get those surveys certainly about what classes they want to take. That's how we decided a lot of what to cut. Some of the stuff there was no interest in. So looking at the data and figuring out what to offer, I think it is critical in a budget constrained time. I think for me, for special education, at a prior meeting, I suggested costing out a co-teaching model where we could actually help keep some of those kids in the district to save money and be more inclusive. I think that's super critical. I think out-of-district placements are something that we really need to get a handle on. And like Christine said, the state needs to step up and help with those multi-$100,000 placements. I think ultimately, what I would like to see and what I would really push for is a strategic plan. What does the Sutton School look like 3 to 5 years down the road? And that takes stakeholders who have kids in the school, who don't have kids in the school, who are in town thinking about having kids, young families, older families. We really need to reimagine what school looks like based on the new reality. And that takes everyone. So.
Thank you. Erika, I'm going to change this over to you to start this question. Question number 3. How do you navigate and represent the diverse and sometimes conflicting perspectives of families across
So I think we need to focus on ultimately what we all determine to be the objective needs of all students, meeting students where they are, and also raising the bar for all. That said, we do need to be responsive as a district to our student population and families. In a community like Sutton, families are not always going to agree on priorities, and that's okay. My responsibility is to listen carefully, evaluate issues objectively, and make decisions based on what I believe is the best interest of the district as a whole.
Thank you.
Found it. I did do my homework, I swear. Ah, it's like a dog ate it, but she didn't. As a social worker, I've spent my entire working life ensuring that all sides of an issue are heard and respected. I've helped families make very difficult, sometimes life-altering decisions under tight time pressure while emotions ran high. Sometimes there are no easy answers, and that's okay. That's part of the process. That's when we slow things down, review our options, and ensure that all sides have been heard, and then make the most educated decision. It's not easy, I'll admit it. I've advocated hard for my patients and my peers in my various roles across the span of my career. If I can help families meet their kids, help seniors keep their homes, and help veterans find housing, I feel that I can help on the school committee.
Thank you.
So I think navigating diverse opinions means okay having uncomfortable conversations with people. I think that's how you grow in your beliefs. You know, I'll give you a good example. I brought up curriculum at a school committee meeting, and the next meeting there was a kind of a contentious public forum. Pretty contentious actually. I mean, it was actually interesting. I felt attacked. But at the end of it, I ended up having coffee with that community member, and it was awesome. We came to a pretty productive conversation. I think that you navigate diverse opinions by expressing your opinion, hearing another opinion, and coming to a conclusion. I think there's a tremendous amount of humility in that. You need to enter a situation not assuming that you know everything about that situation. Having that growth mindset, I think, is super critical to any of these boards. I think that one of the challenges we have, especially in the schools, I think probably not necessarily in the community as much or on the select board side, is polarization. Schools are oddly political for some reason, and we need to kind of keep that out of the schools. I think when we shun people because we might not agree with them or have a different perspective or different political beliefs, I think it creates a really detrimental effect on our schools, on our towns, and on our society. I think we just need to listen, and frankly, my opinion of someone doesn't hinge on whether they think like I do. Good ideas are formed through a crucible of you saying something, I'm saying something, we agree to disagree, or we come to an agreement. And I think that that's how schools should be. That's a microcosm of a good school system. It's a microcosm of a good society, and I think if we get back to that, we'll be okay.
Thank you. So we'll start with you. Question number 4. Do you view public schools as a community investment, and how do you communicate their value to residents, both with and without children in the system?
Sure. Absolutely. Public schools are a community investment in as much as roads, police, fire, all of those are community investments. The school happens to be the largest town budget item, so it's sort of unique in that sense. But I think that all of these things add value to the town. There was a study in 2020 by the Urban Institute entitled Policy Budget Increases Are Linked to Local Housing Market Growth and Declines in Social Service Spending, which illustrated a correlation essentially between police and fire and higher property values. In the same way, there's certainly a correlation between high-performing schools and property values. There was recently a 2026 study in the Journal of Statistics and Data Science called Housing Prices and School Quality, a quantitative exercise using Greater Boston housing data. Essentially, that study showed what is probably pretty obvious. If you have high-performing schools, high-quality schools, you have a high effect on housing prices. So I guess the question is, what is quality? I would suggest that quality means more than per pupil spending. So for example, if quality meant per pupil spending, schools like Lawrence, right, which at least according to DTC, in 2024 spend $20,878 per pupil, would be destinations. What does quality look like? Quality to me is the strength of our parent organizations, it's the strength of our teachers, it's the strength of our academics, it's the strength of our parents' involvement in their kids' education. And for me, because the school is such a large part of the town's budget, I encourage community members every time I see them to get involved in the school, because you have a stake in this. And it, like I said, it takes everyone to make the school system run properly. So that's, I think, how we view schools as a community investment.
Thank you.
I have questions time. All public school systems, from the country's largest with nearly 1 million students to one smaller than the one-room schoolhouse on 8 Lots Road, are community investments. Education and the opportunities that come with it are one of the biggest things that today's adults owe tomorrow's adults. So public schools are an investment by the community. Public schools are also an investment in the community. Strong public schools create a desirable community. Desirable communities drive revenue, and that's how we ultimately pay for public services like fire, police, highway departments, as well as the library, the senior center, and the shared public spaces we all enjoy. School choice adds another dimension, attracting neighboring students from other towns, which brings money into the Sutton schools. So, to answer the question, public schools are a community investment in both senses of the word, and it is in everyone's interest to ensure that our public schools are strong, whether or not you have kids in school.
So I would say 100% our public schools are a community investment. Even more importantly, it's a community obligation. It goes without saying, it was noted, strong schools benefit not only the students and families, but the entire community, helping to attract families to Sutton, supporting long-term property values, strengthening civic life, and preparing students to become productive and engaged citizens. As a district, we should always strive to outperform peer communities academically, while also providing students with a well-rounded educational experience. Residents and taxpayers are more willing to invest in our schools when they see strong stewardship, measurable outcomes, and a clear focus on student achievement.
Thank you. And we'll start the last question with you, Patrick.
Squeeze in the AI question.
Oh, you want to just, okay. Well, and we have a bonus question tonight too. But we'll start with question 5. How would you ensure Sutton schools are adequately funded to meet the community's needs, both now and as the town's development landscape changes?
So first, I think it's important to acknowledge that Sutton is not in a crisis and our schools do remain strong. But we are operating under increasing financial pressure and tighter long-term constraints. We need to continue to be vigilant about wage growth as a percentage of our overall budget. It's been noted that salaries comprise roughly 80% of the district's budget, so even modest annual increases have significant impact over time. I believe that the school committee had ratified the contract last night. The negotiations committee did a good job to secure a fair 3-year contract that supports our staff while remaining mindful of the district's long-term financial sustainability. Going forward, we need to be smarter about leveraging the, sorry, kind of skipping into the bonus questions. I'll stop now.
Sorting out adequate funding is a collaborative effort, both between Sutton residents and our major governing bodies. The school committee, select board, the finance committee, and even the planning board. All these groups need to work together.
No one board can operate in a silo and expect other boards to make informed decisions. Conversations need to be cooperative, transparent, and ongoing, before, during, and after budget season. As we talk about a tri-board meeting in town, I might even suggest we move toward a quad board meeting and look to bring in the planning board. I believe the school committee should also work more closely with the legislative branch of government to advocate for increased state and federal funding for sustainable multi-year programs in Sutton. The state senate started its own budget process a few days ago. During the whole legislative budget process, the many voices that work directly and indirectly with students have shown up to advocate for increased funding. This includes, but is not limited to, the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, the Massachusetts Municipal Association, the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, and the Massachusetts Teachers Association, and I could go on. As a school committee, it is our job, their job right now, to work with the elected representatives to make sure that we get a fair share of funding, that it's directed appropriately, and that it's committed. This funding will help if it comes and goes every year. Again, we need to ensure that we have sustainable funding and that we can count on it in our budget planning process.
Thank you.
So I think we need to control the things we can control. We can't control demographics, but the committee this year did a good job on the negotiations. I was humbled to be a part of that. And we gave the teachers a fair COLA, but we also got a new salary grid, and I think long-term will help a lot of the district's financial viability. We tightened language around lane changes. We worked to do early retirement incentives to not only reward longevity for teachers, but also help hire new teachers on the new grids. Second, we always need to be critical about what our operations look like. Can we share resources with other departments, with the town, physical plant, grounds crew, things like that? Any possibility of reducing costs that are not core to our educational mission. Third, I think we need to focus on our core competencies. Interestingly, there's a thing called an articulation agreement where you can go off to a community college. We have an articulation agreement with QCC, but BVT, for example, has articulation agreements with all the local colleges around here. And there are grants that the school can get to establish these articulation agreements. We should be doing that so that kids can go to local colleges, local universities, they get college credit, they get high school credit, and we get a grant to help sustain that operation. So, controlling the things we can control. And that's a win-win for everyone, for students, for parents, and for the district. And it helps expand what we can offer. Fourth, things like innovation career pathways. We recently, as part of the Fair Share budget, got a $450,000 grant to set up an innovation career pathway. I think if that becomes sustained in Sutton, we have an opportunity at the 8th grade level for kids to school choice in, which means money for the district, and get on a proper pathway where they can graduate from high school with a certificate in a career skill. Fifth, we need to work with our delegation. Chapter 70 has not caught up with inflation. And I think we need to grow smartly with the town. I think we ought to be working with the select board and the town manager on a standard community partnership agreement with language that articulates our needs so that whenever a business comes into town, we can say, hey, let's partner together to grow smartly. Here's what we need, here's what we can offer. And I think the committee has really done a good job this year of keeping that balance with the budget and being more realistic, and want to keep that progress going.
Thank you. Okay. So we have one bonus question for the school committee. No, it's not recorded. Mine is. What do you think the role of AI is in our schools for both students and teachers?
Do you want Erika first, or?
Sure.
It's supposed to be a good thing.
I feel like I just got the hardest question. All right. AI may be the largest technology transformation the world has ever seen. It can cut costs and supplement rigorous academics, but it can also be taken too far. As adults, many of us are working through how it fits into our workplaces, and we need to do the same for our students. Part of this is ensuring that there is solid governance and oversight. Over a year ago, the school formed an AI committee to create guidelines for the use of AI in the school. Given how fast AI is changing, the school committee may want to consider creating an AI subcommittee, similar to its 4 other subcommittees. Subcommittees have been shown to have an effective first step in dealing with highly complex problems, and AI is certainly one of them.
Thank you. You get to choose.
Okay, so I think AI really fits well into a good digital literacy curriculum. I kind of view AI right now as like your cell phone, right? It's really useful, right? But you can kind of get like too into it. So I think students need to understand the benefits of AI, like the ability to quickly surface, summarize large volumes of information, but they also need to understand the dangers of AI because AI hallucinates, it can provide false information. Or I think there's a great niche for AI right now is, hey AI, tell me X, Y, and Z things and show me a couple of sites that agree or disagree with this opinion. A better search engine, right? I think AI can summarize large volumes of information and bring a wealth of data together for us that we just can't do on our own, and I think that that's a super easy, frictionless way of doing that. The other thing I think is cool for AI for teachers. I think AI can create lesson plans. It can create study guides. It can help teachers focus on what really matters, not the administrivia of being a teacher, but the actual one-on-one interactions with students. When you take away some of the more burdensome work of teaching, right, the stuff that you didn't sign up for, right? As a teacher, you want to talk to students. You don't want to be filling out, creating all these lesson plans. AI can really help in that, and I think we'll see a lot better outcomes. So what I'd really like to see is helping our teachers utilize AI to take away a lot of that burden of like being a teacher with paperwork, so that the AI frees up the teacher to actually have value one-on-one interactions with students, because again, more individualized attention from a teacher means a higher outcome for your student, and I think that's what we all want.
You pass it down to Tara.
So as a general rule, I think AI is great and we should be leveraging it as a district, especially as a small district, to be really getting more out of each dollar that we're putting into our schools. As for the student side, I'd be looking to follow the state guidance, as it relates to how student usage for AI itself. But I really do believe that as a smaller district, where we can get more bang for our buck with that is ultimately leveraging it to support our teachers and improve the efficiency both of teaching as well as non-teaching staff, and ultimately personalizing instruction where appropriate for the students.
Thank you.
We're going to do final statements. I just want to say, we've been wanting to do an AI session with the DTC for a while, so keep your ears open for that, because I think this is a huge issue. And can you guys hear me? Sorry, excellent. Okay. Yeah, just saying, keep your ears open for a forum that we would like to do on this issue, because we can only touch on it tonight, but I think it's a huge issue across the board, and I'll leave it at that.
Well, thank you. We have the candidates. Will, if you will, please provide us just 1 minute summary of your position and just closing statements. And I guess we can start at the end, or, yeah.
So thank you for the opportunity to come tonight. My trust is that people have been able to watch some of the school committee meetings this year. hopefully they agree that I've made some meaningful contributions. I'm hoping to continue that work. I think we as a committee can and need to do more work on the governance front, and certainly on budget. As Chris noted, likewise, I similarly advocated for teaching and learning subcommittee, which I'm hopeful that the school committee will take up next year. We need to be open to doing things differently than prior school committees, and I've brought that new perspective. I'm hopeful to be involved in those discussions and be given the opportunity to continue service to our town and school district.
There are two reasons that I feel that I am the right candidate for this position on the school committee. I'm a social worker. I have helped many people over the past 20 years. Again, hungry families, homeless veterans, seniors needing support, folks having the worst days of their lives. All of this experience comes with me. And I'm a parent, and I've been watching school committee for the past 6 years. I'm on PTO. I was here for Midnight Mayhem last week, and I can tell you it was mayhem. It was fun. I was here for 9 hours. I'm also on the enrollment working group and on the Sutton Middle School Site Council as well. I'm doing the work, and I feel that I can do more work if I'm on school committee. And I feel like I'll have more of an impact doing that. Times are challenging, and they will continue to be challenging. But with collaboration and communication, and those are my strengths, that puts me in the best position to help the students, and to help the school, and to help Sutton. And just thanks for being here tonight. Thanks for listening, and thanks for voting next week. And thank you so much for caring about the students, their school, and Sutton.
So, over the past year, I've worked to try to bring results to the school committee. I was, again, humbled to be part of the negotiation team for the new SDA contract. We delivered a fair contract. We delivered a new salary grid. We had tighter lane change language, which was going to save the district real money long term. I stood up for the early grades because I really believe that giving good kids an entry point that is small, accessible, and comfortable will allow kids to flourish in the district. I also advocated at a prior meeting to explore co-teaching models because I really believe that we need to keep kids here and give them the best special education treatment we can in Sutton versus sending them out. Again, helping the kids, but also helping the district. So what is my agenda going forward? First, I think we need to keep talking about academic outcomes. Again, we should be well above the state average in these things, not settling for where we are. We have a small district. Again, everyone should be a high achiever here. Second, again, expanding articulation agreements so that we can give kids more opportunities than maybe we can offer. Expanding the pie and expanding the menu of options that these kids can choose from. Third, we need a strategic focus. We can't be everything to everyone. We need to focus on what our core competencies are and supplement as appropriate. That requires a strategic plan, that requires stakeholder input, that requires someone who can work with the town. Fourth, I think we need to grow the pie. We need tri-board collaboration. We need pursuit of grants. We need collaboration with our state delegation for increased funding. I can work with our state delegation. I can work across town departments. I'm on 2 boards. I've done the job for a year. And I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Can you pass the mic, please?
All right. Well, first of all, thank you all so much for taking the time to be here and listen to us talk. I'm so grateful for everyone who cares about this town, who shows up, who wants to be part of things, and for everyone listening at home, thank you. And thank you to DTC for hosting. I found this event extremely helpful last year as a voter, and I'm so glad that it's happening again this year. I'm enthusiastic about taking on a role as a select board, and I hope that I hope to serve this town for many years to come. If you invested me as a younger person right now, I could potentially spend decades in service to this town, and I would be so happy and so grateful to do so. Thank you all so much for your time. Take care.
I first want to thank all the voters for last year, giving me the opportunity to serve for the 1 year that I've been on the board. I believe I possess the time and talent to decipher the information and research the issues that are going to be coming before the board in the next year. I believe I will be able to make informed decisions on behalf of the citizens, which will keep Sutton growing in a direction preserving the quality of life of the residents have grown to expect and enjoy. I believe in the upcoming few years, the town will address several fiscal choices, and I believe my skill set puts me in a position to be able to add value to any strategy decisions, any budget issues. I'm willing to spend as much time as it takes to get data and then to share the data with everybody that's interested in hearing it. And trust me, a lot of people aren't, and they want me to stop talking. I'm also on the Central Mass Regional Planning. I'm the delegate for the board. I had already been following those meetings. They're very instrumental in the direction that Central Mass takes. That's impactful for us being on the 146 corridor and also having a wonderful cut through between two state highways, 146 and Interstate 395. I think the town's going to continue to change. We're not going to be able to stop it, but I think if we have mindful growth, we can continue to have the quality that we enjoy. Just to sum it up, several years ago, I undertook some fundraising for the American Legion Park down in the Manchog Village where I grew up. I had a high school classmate that's very active with the Dudley Gendron Post, and they do wonderful fundraising at the Dudley Gendron, and I asked her, I said, how do I raise this big amount of money in order to make this playground come to life? And she said to me, you need to be everywhere. And so I went, Waters Farm Icon, that's coming up. Mother's Day, Market 32, the Dudley Gendron Chicken Barbecue. I've transitioned that to being at every board meeting that I can or listening to it because I think I'm blessed with the time and I'm willing to summarize anything to anyone. I've sat with a member of the school committee to explain the recapitulation sheet from the assessors. I've dug deep into the budget. I've been on the DTC website. I can pretty much find anything about anybody, anywhere, because of the genealogy links, and I'm willing to do that for the community. I really appreciated this time. My dedication is Sutton. I'm not planning to go anywhere, and I would really appreciate the opportunity to continue in service to the town that I was born into, that I've raised my family in, and where I hope to pass away in another maybe 30 years. So thank you for taking the time to come and listen to all the candidates for all the positions. Please vote. Please beat the number from last year that I believe was 1,100 people. We have 7,000 registered voters. Let's all just show up, right? That's all that's important, just show up. So thank you. Thank you to the DTC.
Thank you. Let's give our candidates a round of applause. And I want to thank you all for participating and taking the message out to the rest of the community. We learned a lot of great information this evening, and I hope that it was helpful for you as you're making informed decisions in the next upcoming weeks.